Hi guys, I am Alexandra and this is my 36-week baby bump. Welcome to our channel. Today I'm going to be sharing our 2018 minivan adventure through Iowa. And I'm also going to be sharing how we stored all of our food inside of that little minivan. So let's go ahead and get started. On September 21st, 2018, we waved goodbye to Yellowstone in the beautiful state of Wyoming and started our journey through the Midwest. Our first stop was in Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, and let me tell you, the state really lives up to its nickname. There are lakes, ponds, streams, rivers, and mosquitoes everywhere. We stopped to catch up with a friend who was there visiting his family along the way of his own van life adventure. The next morning, we made our way to Decorah, Iowa to visit another friend named Cody. We went for a pretty sunset walk a few hours after we arrived. On our walk, Cody told us all about the area of the Midwest we were in called the Driftless area, an area connecting Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. It's called the Driftless area because it's the only area in that region that wasn't completely flattened out by glaciers during the last ice age. If you've ever been to the Midwest, then you would know that it is flat, flat, flat. So it was really neat to learn a little bit about the geography and go on a nature walk along a hillside looking down on a river. This might sound kind of silly, but I had no idea Iowa was so pretty, which was kind of turning into the theme of our travels, discovering the beauty in places I would have never imagined as a Southern California girl.
Down there is we have a 12-mile bike loop that goes around town. That's it right there, Trot Run Trail. Pretty sweet.
During our stay in Decorah, we went to visit Cody's shop where he makes goods for his company called the Big Driftless. He hand makes and distributes hiking gear like backpacks, hats, shirts, patches, etc. It was pretty inspiring getting to see his setup. He sews all his own packs by himself. It really just goes to show if you want something and dream about it enough, you can definitely make it happen. I linked his website in the description box below if you want to check out his goods or hear a better description of what the Driftless area actually is. Go ahead and check it out. Back to van life. Okay, so I wanted to share how we stored all of our food in a little minivan. Living out of a minivan while traveling across the U.S. made storing food, especially fresh, perishable foods, pretty tricky. But having fresh produce and healthy snacks was the key ingredient to making living out of a minivan for a month tolerable, so I feel like sharing this part is pretty important. Obviously, you can't have a fridge in a minivan, so this is our fridge. This is what I call our fridge, at least. So, okay, let's take a peek inside. We kept the cooler chilled with big bags of ice that we had to replace like every other day or so. Since the ice does melt, we liked keeping everything that shouldn't get wet or smushed at the top. We would drain the cooler at least once a day, and once a week we would take everything out just to like wipe it down inside. Yep, we have tons of apples.
Apple galore.
Yeah, I don't even know how many pounds. We had like 2 more pounds of apples, like probably yesterday, but we love apples. They're the best. If any of you guys have been on a road trip of any kind, whether it's in a car, minivan, whatever, These are the best. I mean, come on, how can you survive a road trip without mini carrots, you know? We kept the cooler right behind the driver's seat, right on the ground. This made easy access for me, the passenger, to reach in the cooler and make snacks for us while we were driving. I don't know if I'm the only girl that travels with a crystal roller for my face, but I might be. I get puffy pretty easy, so I like to travel and feel fresh. You know, I like to travel with my secret stash. We also had a dry food bin and an overflow box where we kept all the food that didn't need to be chilled. The big clear dry food bin was stored right behind the passenger seat, stacked on top of the cooking bin. We kept things we couldn't really eat while driving at the bottom of the bin, and all of our snacky foods like nuts, protein bars, avocados, things that we could eat while we were driving, right on top. We used a lot of mason jars in the dry food bin to store the things like the dried beans and the rice and cacao and everything in the beginning, until we realized it was like kind of a pain in the butt and they kept breaking, so then we transferred everything to Ziploc bags. We made our overflow food box out of a cardboard box we got from a co-op and kept it underneath the bed right behind the cooking bin. We stored all of our canned food, spices, food that had to be cooked in order to be eaten, and things we had extra of that we wouldn't need right away in the overflow box. Like, for example, instead of having 2 boxed hemp milks in the cooler, we had all the extra ones in the overflow bin. Like I mentioned earlier, the cooking bin was stored underneath the dry food bin right behind the passenger seat. In our cooking bin, we kept obviously everything we used to cook with, like our Coleman stove, our cutting board, a pot to cook in, bowls to eat out of, and anything else you can imagine to cook and eat with. We also stored everything we needed to clean up after we ate, like soap and sponges. Fitting everything into the cooking bin was like a game of Tetris. We used tea towels and oven mitts to make sure nothing broke that was stacked on top of each other. Talk about a labor of love. Anytime we wanted to cook anything, we would have to set up a station so that the stove could be high enough for us to stand and cook, which usually involved pulling out multiple other bins, which were usually our clothing bins, out from the trunk, and we would have to stack them to make a counter to put the stove on. Then once we were done cooking, we couldn't leave until we cleaned everything and had everything packed away, back up with Tetris-like precision. Making sure there was always fresh ice in the cooler, draining the cooler when it filled up with the melted ice, keeping the dry food bin clean and organized, Tetris stacking our cooking bin, and just cooking in general. Honestly, it was like a part-time job, but it was 1,000,000% worth it, and our little system really worked for us. Having healthy snacks within arm's reach at any time was such a luxury for us, especially while living out of a minivan. I linked a couple blog posts that I wrote that has pictures and explanations of how our minivan was set up on the inside and what our whole cooking situation looked like. So check them out if you're interested. After a couple days of exploring Decorah with our buddy, we packed up our little minivan and said goodbye to Cody and made our way to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We were 1,900 miles away from where we first started our road trip in San Diego, California, and 1,300 miles away from Martha's Vineyard, where we would be flying to Southeast Asia from. Thank you so much for following along our time in Iowa. I hope you enjoyed. The next video I share will be all about our adventure through the changing fall colors of Michigan. So I hope to see you then. But until then, go ahead, hit like. If you could subscribe and comment, it really helps my little channel grow. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.